Hey, welcome back. Today I'm going to be making a delicious homemade loaf of bread. It is so good and I'm going to share the recipe with you. It's in the description, and if you want to learn how to, then follow along. It's pretty foolproof. It worked for me, and learning how to make bread from scratch has plagued me for years because I could never figure out how to do it. But I finally figured it out a few years ago and it's so delicious. I make it all the time for my family and they love it. So join me and we're going to get baking. So here's my mixer, and first things first, flour. What you want is bread flour. It is ideal. It makes a much nicer bread. And it is more expensive, so usually I mix it half and half all-purpose and half bread flour. I don't think it matters what brand of bread flour, but it works just as good. So first thing I'm gonna do, now in the recipe it's a little bit more descriptive as to the amount of ingredients, and I have them measured out here. Except for flour, that's not something I usually measure really well. So first thing I do is I take my red flour and I pour in probably a good 2.5, 3 cups. There we go. Again, the measurements on the bread are not exact and they don't have to be at this point. So I toss that in there. I have 4.5 teaspoons of yeast. I've got 1 tablespoon of salt, 3 tablespoons granulated sugar, and I've got 2 tablespoons shortening. Now I'm going to warm this up in the microwave just a little bit to soften it up so I don't end up with little chunks of shortening in my bread. Alright, we're back. This is warmed up just a bit. One of the tablespoons melted, the other one's really soft, so I'm going to toss it in. Actually, I'm going to give it a little stir first. Pour it in. There we go. Our last ingredient on the list is really warm water. This is 2.25 cups, and you don't want it to be too hot or you'll kill the yeast, but it does need to be really nice and warm. So as far as the temperature goes and not killing the yeast, but being warm enough to get it to grow really nice, that might be something that you might need to trial and error like I did. But if you stick your finger in, it'll be really nice and warm, like really cozy warm. That was what worked for me. So pour a little in, get some mixing. And now we're going to start adding the rest of our flour, and this is why the flour wasn't an exact thing. The recipe is more helpful, but I'm just going to keep adding flour until it starts looking like a ball of dough. And this is one I'm going to start using all-purpose too. There we go. It's starting to ball up pretty good, so I'm going to add the rest of the water. There we go. And I'm going to add a little bit more flour as needed. Alright, once it starts balling up like a big old ball of dough on the hook, then it's time to take it off, throw it on your counter, and start kneading it into more flour. This is about the time where I take off my wedding ring so I don't gum it up with a bunch of dough. Here we go. There we go. Scrape it out of the bowl. Now don't put that bowl in the sink just yet. We're going to use it to let our bread rise in. My daughters have loved learning how to make homemade bread. And I'm telling you, once you start, you can't go back. We still buy some bread for sandwiches and things sometimes, but this is a real treat. It is amazing. We use it with honey, we use it with butter, we use it with jam or peanut butter, and it is so good. My family comes running when they can smell it. Oh, by the way, it turns your house into the best smelling place on the planet. So the key to kneading is to fold it over and press it down. Fold it over and press. That's how I've been teaching my daughters. Fold and press, fold and press. You definitely don't want it to be sticky. That means it needs more flour, but you want to keep kneading until it gets nice and stretchy. So this step will take a few minutes, but I found that it's good exercise for my arms. It's feeling pretty good. I think it's ready to let it sit and rise. All right, here's where you need your bowl back. I'm gonna spray it with some nonstick spray. There we go. Plop this in. There we go. Cover it with saran wrap and we'll let it rise. There we go. A huge elastic. We're gonna let it sit and rise until it's double in size. All right, our bread dough has doubled in size and it is smelling good. So we're gonna take this off, dump it out. I'm gonna get some flour on my hands and I'm gonna turn it over and I'm gonna roll it like a sausage. Just a bit. I'm gonna fold it in half and I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna try to make them the same size as best as I can. There we go. I'm gonna fold one end in and fold the other end in. Turn it and then I'm gonna roll it like a sausage again. There we go. I'm gonna pinch it shut, try and get it to stick like so. There we go. First one. I'm gonna take my pan, spray it, and gently set in my first loaf. There we go. We'll do the same to the next one. Fold the side in, fold the other side in, turn, and we're gonna roll it in like a sausage. Pinch, 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 pinch. There we go. Like so. Set it in our pan. Beautiful. Like this. Now I'm gonna take 2 tablespoons of butter, melted, and we're going to just baste these beautiful loaves like this. Yum. This really goes a long way. They look perfect. Here we go. You want to cover them up. More rubber bands. Make sure you give them room to rise. And we're gonna let them rise one more time. We'll let them double in size and we'll stick them in the oven. The oven temperature needs to be 425. So when they start to look like they're getting there, preheat your oven so it'll be ready to go. Our loaves have risen. They look beautiful. We're gonna stick them in the oven. It's preheated to 425 and we're gonna let them bake for about 16 minutes. And it might be a little bit longer, not quite sure, but it'll depend on your oven. And wait till they're nice and brown and we'll pull them out. it. So I made the mistake of realizing that they would puff up more than I thought they would, and I put them in between the racks. So there's a rack on top, so they've got some lovely little stripes on them, but that's okay. It won't change the taste, and they still look beautiful. So I'm gonna pull them out onto a wire rack, let them cool for just a minute, and then we'll cut it up so they're still hot and fresh, and we'll melt the butter. Yum. Oh, smell it. Yeah. This looks so good, and I'm telling you that it smells amazing in here. So please make this recipe at home. I promise you, you won't regret it. We're gonna cut into it while it's still nice and warm. Here we go. I'm gonna get some butter and honey on here. And because we have our own honeybees, we usually can use our own fresh honey. I'm out at the moment because it's almost spring, which means I've already eaten through our winter supply because it's so good. But we're going to harvest honey in a little while. I'm looking forward to spring and summer when we get lots of fresh honey. Our bread is done, and it smells and looks beautiful. Oh, I'm gonna take a bite. You have to try this. It won't fail you. If you have trouble, mention it in the comments, ask me what happened, and I'll see if I can help. Because believe me, this is worth it. Oh, it is so good. There is nothing like homemade fresh bread. The smell from the oven, how warm and fresh it is, how it is with honey and butter, how soft it is. It's so flavorful. There is nothing in the store like it. So please, please try it. You won't go back. It's amazing. For our family, we don't do this all the time. We do buy some bread from the grocery store for sandwiches and things, but this is our treat, and I make it all the time for my family. They love it. I usually have to make, one recipe makes 2 loaves, and we go through 2 loaves in about a day to 2 days because it is so good. So if you like the video, hit the like button and please subscribe. I've got lots more things to share. Oh, please tell me if you try this. Let me know how it goes, and I will see you in the next video.